Next on Startup Spokane, we'll be talking with Doyle Wheeler, founder of Kinetic Media, about digital marketing in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Stay with us.
Welcome to Startup Spokane, where hosts Steve Traben and Megan Halsey explore the excitement and momentum growing throughout Spokane's expanding startup community. Startup Spokane is a joint effort between Greater Spokane Incorporated's Startup Spokane, our friends at Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Megan.
Welcome to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online, your podcast home for everything startup and entrepreneurship related in the Spokane region. I'm Steve Traben, along with me, Megan Halsey, and as you know, Startup Spokane is a program of Greater Spokane Incorporated, and we're here to provide you with our region's story on entrepreneurship. We want to provide you with information about entrepreneurs, education, ways for you to connect in and find the resources you need to be successful, whether you're launching or growing your business in our region. At Startup Spokane, we're building an ecosystem that's attractive not only to our native entrepreneurs, but those people that are looking to make Spokane their new home to launch and grow their business. Megan, how about introducing our guest today?
Yeah, I'm very excited that today we're joined by Doyle Wheeler. Doyle is the founder of Kinetic Media, a digital media agency. And so welcome, Doyle.
Well, thank you.
And if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes just to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, first off, I'm Doyle Wheeler, and I am the founder, I guess you'd have to say the CEO of Kinetic Media. So we're a different breed. We do things a little off the cuff, but we try to be as normal and emotional as possible for all of our clients. So that's probably what sets us apart. So a little about myself. I guess I could go on for hours talking about myself, but what I'm thankful most for is our clients that have helped us to get to where we are today. And that wouldn't have happened without some passion. And it really all started on eBay. My social media experience started on eBay back when email was probably the top social media platform, and eBay existed because of reviews. And so we grew an eBay store that was started out just buying bike parts. And we bought old school bike frames and built them up on eBay. And I couldn't sell them, so actually our family rides them. But anyway, to make a long story short, we used it to save money, and I built an ecosystem that eventually allowed me to sell other small items and grow my brand there. So move forward to today. It's been a 6-year ride of growing our company, and we're emerging as one of the biggest ones in our city.
Hey, Doyle, let's go back even further. My recollection is that before you launched into sort of this digital marketing and the story you just shared, that you were actually in a completely different field.
Yes.
And maybe I think there's a little bit of a story to share with our listeners about your own personal pivot.
Yeah, sure. So when I was in junior high school, I knew I wanted to work on cars. And so that was my jam. I was going to work on cars for a living, and so I did. I got an 18-year career behind me in heavy collision repair. I worked at Craig's Collision Center up here on Francis in Spokane, and so I ended up in a really bad injury, and it took me from the workplace, and it created a real challenge because I knew I could never pick up tools and make a living again. Mm-hmm. So in the process of recovery, I found ways that my doctors allowed me to stay busy with that would keep my hands busy and my mind moving, and that eventually turned into spending a lot of time on the computer because I knew that would probably be the existence of our family actually generating an income.
Right. And so was there, did you actually take an education path to get there, or has this all just been sort of, learning the trade on your own? Talk a little bit about that.
So I took my past experience from eBay, and then I found myself sharing my projects that I was doing during my recovery, which was making small pens, and the only way I could stay busy with that is to move some of them. And as I was moving the pens, it allowed me to buy more products and things that I could incorporate into different designs. And so all of that turned into, okay, I got to get on Facebook and start talking about this. So I was sharing my passion for what I did, and I got a big following down in the South. So a lot of hunters and outdoorsmen in this South area of the country were interested in what I was doing. And really, I didn't make enough to make a living. And actually, I lost money. But the reality is, when it was time to get to work, I built a following in Spokane through Launchpad in the Northwest. And my first chance to actually be released for work, I was at the grand opening of Launchpad downtown. And what was interesting is people knew who I was, but I didn't know who they were. And it was from networking on Facebook. And so using the Launchpad forum, and that's how we existed back in 2010, is we talked on forums. And now we have Facebook groups, and we have Twitter, and things have progressed tremendously. So when I realized that was happening, I was getting asked for advice, and that just kind of turned into talking to the person I would credit starting my company, Bill Kalivas, and he laughed at me when I said, I'm going to start a social media only company. And I turned that conversation into, well, give me your passwords and let me show you how I can do it. And so we took Launchpad Inland Northwest and became the face of social, the brand on social media.
Yeah, because and for those people that aren't aware, because Launchpad Inland Northwest no longer exists, but back then it really was kind of the LinkedIn in our region, allowing people to connect their have profiles and connect. I mean, it's very much what today looks like and feels like some sort of morphed version of Facebook and LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
And
it was fun.
And it was early.
It was very early. It was early adaptive.
Yeah. And I would say, we'll talk more about our present day entrepreneurial ecosystem, but this was one of the very early efforts in the ecosystem to try to create collaboration throughout our region for the entrepreneurial community.
Absolutely.
So, it's not just digital media that you do, though. You have a lot of other interests as well that filter into that with some of your photography and other interests. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, our first clients were just getting into the space, and I'd already had 2 or 3 years into Twitter, and back then black text was king. You could share your passion by just talking, right? Well, people quickly figured out with the entrance of the iPhone 4 and the Android Droid and then Droid X that you could take pretty good pictures. Well, why would you share 1,000 words in black text with your thumbs when you could snap a photo and get the emotion into it? And so my photography journey really started with my Android and then into an iPhone 4. And I spent a lot of time not driving, but walking through downtown and trying to find my way of putting perspective into an iPhone. And I found out that being an iPhoneographer wasn't such a crazy thing because it was a trending hashtag on Instagram. So one of the first posts that I did on Instagram was a direct upload from my iPhone, which was very expensive. And so anyway, progression continued, and I found that a lot of our clients struggled with quality content. And to get the word out is one thing, but to do it correctly was where the value was. And so we covered a lot of events. We covered a lot of personal aspects of the company just with an iPhone. But as time progressed, it was time to move on, and I had a lot of encouragement from photographers in Spokane and now videographers on the importance of a watermark and branding your photography, and it devalues them. If I'm just out there having fun, sharing my passion with images that are quality enough to rip and put on a Facebook banner photo and use without credit, I should probably do something about it so that it's not okay for them to do it for my fellow photographers.
Right. Yeah. But I think there's another interesting aspect of this, and that is you're talking about the use of technology that most individuals have in their possession, right?
Absolutely.
And I think about our listeners, many of whom I hope are entrepreneurs that are launching or growing their businesses, and they're bootstrapping and they don't have a lot of cash. I mean, you have really learned how to capitalize on technology that we all have in a way that it doesn't really cost money to market, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's give our listeners some nuggets of value.
To put it in perspective, you do not have to be a photographer to take killer photos, right? You do not have to be a photographer to share the emotion of your brand. All you need is a really good device to do it. And I always say that, well, every photographer will tell you the best camera is the one that's closest to your belt, right? Phone's always there. There are so many killer apps on the Apple, just lost it, the App Store and also the Google Play Store to manipulate photos. My challenge was and is when I take a photo, it's great, I like it, but it doesn't show the color, it doesn't show the passion that I felt or saw in that image, right? This goes for products, this goes for being out in public, and you can edit anything you want in filters if you're willing to spend the time. So I know I'm diving into photography, but as far as digital media goes, if you don't have media, you just got digital. And when it comes to social media outlets, being social is the part of social media that matters.
And it's all about getting the brand out and getting the word out. I mean, it's a huge part of marketing, right?
Well, and do you find that posts that have the images are more successful? When you put images out there, does that get a better response from your customers?
Yes and no. So that could be a theory in itself. I mean, we put a lot of photos out for a lot of different clients in a lot of different niches, but the end result is timing, execution, making sure that we're delivering to what the market is speaking about, right? So it isn't just about what you're snapping. It is really 100% about what you know from your heart about your company. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I think, again, it's just reinforcing that many of the entrepreneurs, we have the technology, and we're going to dive deeper after our break and talk more about how you've leveraged social media for some of the work in our ecosystem. But I think this is just a really important topic, and I'm always looking for ways for entrepreneurs to get value without having to spend a ton of money. And I'm not trying to take business away from Kinetic Media.
I'm here to help.
Great. So we're going to take a short break on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online, where we're talking to founder and CEO Doyle Wheeler of Kinetic Media. We'll be right back.
They say it takes a community to raise a family. It also takes one to build a business. I came to Spokane 12 years ago as a Whitworth student, and I planned to leave after graduation. But the more I got to know this community, the more I wanted to become a part of it. My husband and I have built our business in Spokane, and now we're raising our family here too. We operate a consulting company that provides creative business development strategies. Our approach is holistic and dependent on intentional connections and relationships. And no one understands connections and relationships better than GSI. They direct momentum towards investments in our community, provide resources that help business leaders connect, and they're dedicated and passionate about making Spokane great. GSI gives me the confidence to build my business here because they believe every organization, even a small one like mine, adds big value to our community. With GSI's help, Spokane will be a place my son will want to build his career too. I'm Eva Marquette, owner of Freshview. We're creating something greater with Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
Welcome back to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online. Today we are joined by guest Doyle Wheeler with Kinetic Media. And we wanted to talk a little bit more about some of your involvement throughout the startup ecosystem.
Yeah,
and maybe let's focus in on Startup Weekend. Just, Doyle, I know you've been a huge part of Startup Weekend from the get-go in 2012, and you bring your social media expertise to that event each and every time. So let's talk about that, because that'll help us talk about your involvement as well as utilizing social media.
Sure. So Brett Noyes came up with the idea of actually facilitating and starting Startup Weekend, and this was 10 events ago. So we just had our 10th event literally, 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
In November.
And another tremendous success. He asked me if I'd help get the word out on social media, and we'd met networking I don't even remember how it all came together, but the reality is every startup exists because of the value of inexpensive publicity through social media.
Thank you.
And I feel like if there was any nonprofit that we could support that would provide value in our time, which I find is more valuable than money, it would be Startup Weekend. And there's so much intrigue. So I don't look at it so much as a guy that's trying to make $1 million overnight. I look more at it as creators with a broader mind than you could imagine that are willing to use the business canvas, right, to do something rad, really cool. And to me, exposing that story is beyond valuable, and it's not just about entrepreneurs. It's about real people doing extremely awesome stuff.
Yeah, and a really great experience. So
Absolutely.
share more specifically about what it looks like for you to cover that event from a social media perspective, because you use a lot of different tools.
Sure. So it's escalated now, and we do have a lot of technology that makes it much easier to do. Plus, 4G is cheap. When we started Startup Weekend 5 years ago, 6 years ago, geez. When we started Startup Weekend 6 years ago, it cost a fortune and we had conversations. Mark Simons, Brett Noyes, and I would sit around and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get the best internet possible. It came down to wires. It came down to wires,
Right.
and then it was Wi-Fi. So we didn't have the opportunity to live stream. It was seriously about a photographer taking pictures, making an album, and then sharing the album on Twitter.
Yep.
I mean, that was pretty...
No, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that's where we started. And we've evolved to
Yeah,
things like Facebook Live
absolutely.
and
So
time-lapsed photography.
Totally.
Right? So talk a little bit about that.
yeah, so I mean, in 2018, let this be the creative. I don't even know how to put this into words, but let this be the advice to every entrepreneur who wants to get the word out about their awesome idea. You can do anything you want with social media. It just takes your time. So if you're not willing to put the time in, you're probably going to lose. Okay, that goes for your business. But if no one knows about the best idea, your best idea is going to fail, period. So when you take the technology that we use at Startup Weekend to get the word out during the event and create really good prolific images that we can use to promote next year's event, right? That's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's startup culture, but you got to go the extra mile. And sometimes that means being vulnerable and being on the internet a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll compare and contrast. I mean, Doyle, you're walking around with your iPhone doing Facebook Live, interviewing people. And then we've got a team from North Idaho College that have, the old traditional, and I love what they do because they do nice coverage, but I mean, they're, it's more traditional media coverage, right?
Right.
And it's just so impactful what you're able to do with a handheld device. And I remember the year before, I think we had a separate phone that was doing time-lapse photography throughout the weekend, and so you could actually see, you could watch the 54 hours go by in a couple of minutes,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
incredible. And I think impactful and great way to market that event. And I then translate that to the entrepreneur, any entrepreneur, and the value add of this kind of social media. Talk a little bit about what the value add is for them. What's the reach?
Well, let's say organic reach, I would say, is the number one important thing that any entrepreneur should look at. If you're losing on your organic reach, your story's probably not great. So you're going to have to figure out how to dig deep, find the passion, and get the story out. We live in a video age. Our company's transitioning as fast as possible to all video. Photography is always going to be important because it works. It's quick, it's easy, we can do it. But to edit a video and get it out on the internet as fast as possible is literally impossible, right? Can you ask me the question one more time?
No, it's about the reach. It's
okay.
Social media reach for entrepreneurs, right?
Let me hit it because I know time's short. I feel like organic reach is so important that you can translate that to a view. In the social media marketing sphere right now, when we're talking to CEO or chief marketing officer or around a boardroom of people that are really invested in this company and want to know how we've done, and you talk about the Facebook views on a boomerang you pulled off of Instagram, they go nuts because that's real. It's hitting home, right? So you can do that with Facebook Live. You can do that with video. But I feel like it's the year of documentation. If you have a passion and you're ready to get the word out, you don't have time to post it today. Document, document, document. Your passion is what's going to show in the future, and that's what's going to sell stuff 10 years from now.
That's great. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about what it would look like for our entrepreneurs if they were to come to you and say, hey, Doyle, I want to engage your services. Help me develop a marketing strategy. What does that look like?
Well, we're still working on that one. That's 7 years in the making. So we are actually working with a startup in the Coeur d'Alene area. We're really excited about it. It's a startup to help people. I did sign an NDA, so I'm not going to explain who it is. Fair enough. It'll come out soon. It's going to be great. But what we're trying to do is develop a business model internally for us to help startups, right? Now, the sad piece is that I have a whole different perspective on the startup culture. And when I was a startup, and I'm not a startup anymore, I'm now a small business. It was how quick could I not be a startup? I want to grow. I want to get big fast. But I also want to have the foundation that gets me to that level. So it could be a 10-year fast, right? So when you really think about can you ask the question again?
Well, just if I come to you as a business,
Yes.
What's your platform? How do you set me up?
Thank you. So if you don't come to me and ask, then I will give you this piece of advice. You're going to ask for seed money, okay? That's your first ask. You need help. Make sure your marketing plan has digital investment. If you miss the mark on that, you're going to do all the work yourself, and I can promise you the CEO of a company does not have time to play on Facebook. But it's the most fundamental mind-moving market right now on social media. And if you're not getting people's attention, you're going to lose for your seed funding. And so you owe it to every investor in your company to do the best you possibly can. And if you're executing on social media, you're going to be executing awesomeness.
Yeah, and social media is just one element of an overall marketing plan, right?
That's right.
So, and your Kinetic Media really focuses mostly on digital and
Correct.
social medias, which I think is great. But I think that, let me ask you the question. I mean, what needs or gaps do you see in today's current ecosystem in our region? Are there some things that we really need to go focus on for our entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial community?
I feel like, yeah, there is, but I don't want to come across negative either.
It's all. This is all part of the
constructive.
conversation.
It's
Yeah.
part of what we're
So I mean, I am not your typical entrepreneur.
Right.
I value family time, and I put that as a priority, and I feel like every entrepreneur should, right? I'm not going to sacrifice my family and my home life, which does actually get sacrificed quite often, unfortunately. Time is everything, so you have to plan. And I feel like the biggest hole is that everybody wants stuff, okay? And if you take away the stuff, it reveals the passion. And if you take the passion and move forward, you're going to have plenty of money for the stuff. It just takes time. It takes patience. Now, I don't see that as a shortfalling because there's a lot of successful startups in Spokane. The end result is there's this facade or canvas around the startup community that it's okay to keep asking for money. The first ask makes you vulnerable. The second ask is a little easier. The third one, so telling your story to make the money, not a great idea. Telling your story to get the passion out, to really help people, to fix problems, to do things better, that's where you're going to eventually make money.
Yeah, so you're basically saying don't let your guiding star be the funding.
That's
let your
right.
guiding star be your passion and the problem and the tensions that you're solving
Yep.
with your product, service, your business, right?
Absolutely.
Focus on that, the rest will come.
The winners of Startup Weekend prove it every time. They put their heart on a plate, they win.
Well, and the other piece of it is if you let that passion become a part of the story, you use social media to convey, the customers come.
Absolutely.
So that becomes kind of
And
the whole
again,
story.
to your point, it is only a piece of the marketing strategy.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Put marketing in the budget. Make sure you carve out a little piece of that. It's National Pie Day.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
Happy Pie
a little
Day.
piece of that pie to leave for money to spend on social media. If you do it all on yourself, at least keep money for ads and boosting.
Yeah, and I think that marketing is a tough nut for a lot of entrepreneurs, and we're really trying with Startup Spokane right now to make a more robust set of subject matter experts and mentors in the marketing space. And Doyle, you're being added to that as well, so we appreciate your involvement in that regard.
I'll just throw this in. Brain surgery is hard too, and that's still a practice.
Yeah, that's right. So let me ask, in the next couple of minutes that we have left, is there a threshold? Can you over social media? I don't know that you want. Do you want to encourage people to be posting on social media like every hour, once a day? What does that look like? I'm looking for tips and tricks for our entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Okay. If your passion is so big, you probably better get it out there. Right? But you got to respect the algorithms put in place on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Snapchat doesn't really have one yet, but every social media platform is looking to make money. They only monetize it by algorithms. And it's end user experience, right? So Facebook pages are totally different than your personal Facebook profile. There you go. There's the staple. Now, posting too much on Facebook depends on who you are. Depends on what your market wants, right? Like Britney Spears was popular for a long time, and she was expected to be on social media, and it kind of flopped on her. But then you look at Justin Bieber, and he's had more followers on Twitter than Canada has citizens.
Yeah. So really, it's an it depends kind of answer, right?
Yeah, but he posted once every 2 days, right? Mm-hmm. So you look at our local news stations, they're posting once an hour, right? You look at your local brands, that's where the money's at. You got to figure out what your market wants, best post times, then really do some research. Find out what your market's really telling you, right?
That's great advice. Doyle, are you willing to share your contact information if people are interested in contacting you and hopefully engaging you as a digital marketing service? How do people find you?
Well, the easiest way is Facebook.
And
no, I'm kidding.
Okay.
What would you like? Phone number?
Well,
email?
is there a website, a contact page on your website, or should they go to kineticmedia.com?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have a website. It's Kinetic Media. We misspelled the word on purpose. It's KINETEK media.com. And you'll find our team on email. And you find me, Doyle, at kineticmedia.com. And our phone number?
That's fine,
sure.
Yeah.
I don't care. Whatever. I try and make it easy.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for our services, you're probably looking for a phone number.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You haven't been there yet. So
spit it out. What is it?
509-435-6805.
That's great. And for anyone that's interested in getting access to any kind of marketing services, Megan, probably best for them to reach out to you.
Why don't you come to Startup Spokane, startupspokane.com, or they can reach out to us via email at startup@greaterspokane.org. We've got lots of resources and all kinds of media experts who can help you develop the plan that you need to cover all of those bases.
Yeah. So Doyle, anything that we didn't cover that you have that you want to share as a last soundbite, if you will, for this great discussion on kind of your work in social media, digital marketing?
Oh boy, that's a deep subject.
Are you doing drones?
So yeah, I'm actually working on getting my FAA license. I feel like it was a fad for quite a while.
Yeah.
Right now, it's highly illegal for anyone to fly without a license to take photos for money.
Exactly.
And since I'm in the media business, that canvases a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of umbrellaed into a predicament. I do love drone photography, and I plan on doing some really crazy stuff once it's legally crazy stuff once it's available in fly zones.
Mm-hmm. No, and and for people that don't know, you can look up Doyle Wheeler on Facebook. He's got filtered media, right, or filtered nerds,
yeah,
and just some really fabulous photography that you've done in and around our region. So we're glad to have you. Part of it.
I'll just thank you. If you got 2 seconds, I'll share my passion. Follow me on Instagram at Doyle Wheeler. Somewhere we'll put a link in this deal. Yeah. And you can see what I've done with other people's technology through filters to make photos awesome.
That's great. I think that's about all the time we have to spend with Doyle Wheeler. I want to thank you so much for sharing not only your story, Doyle, but some really valuable information for entrepreneurs in our community about digital marketing and social media. And we're just thrilled that you were part of our day today, and we look forward to meeting with all of you again on a future broadcast or podcast on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Online. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Startup Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is a joint effort between GSI's Startup Spokane, Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. We wish you a great and profitable day.